Welcome back in, everybody, to a Victory Monday edition of Birds 365. Philadelphia Eagles clinched the NFC East. They clinched the number 2 seed in the NFC, and Saquon Barkley breaks over 2,000 yards for the season. Only the 9th player in NFL history to do it. We're joined now by Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports. Jeff, welcome to the show, man. How you doing on this Monday morning?
Eagles took care of business against the bad football team that people think were. Well, at least people in Dallas thought they were better, so it is what it is.
Not a very good team, yeah. But give the Eagles credit. Give Kenny Pickett credit as a backup quarterback. Tanner McKee, the Mormon Missile, as Jordan Mailata described him.
The Mormon Missile? Is that what Mailata called him?
Yeah. So how excited are you all? Before we know what the lead story is, and I'll get Jeff's thought on that, but how excited are you about the Mormon Missile and his ability long-term to be the backup quarterback, even though everybody hates the guy playing with broken ribs? I can't figure out the Kenny Pickett hate, Jeff.
I don't either. You know, I'll tweet any Kenny Pickett stat, and they'll be like, well, Tanner McKee was better. I'm like, look, I talked to Tanner McKee probably just as much as anybody on this football team, and I was ecstatic for him, throwing a touchdown pass, A.J. Brown throwing 2 touchdown passes yesterday, but you got to give Kenny Pickett his props. He had broken ribs the entire week. Keeps it under wraps to all of us. You know, it leaks in the locker room that he had it since last Sunday. And, you know, I had people say to me on X yesterday, John, that, I could bowl with broken ribs. I said, that's BS. Because as someone who bowls competitively, that is not true.
I can bowl with broken ribs.
And Jeff, with all due respect to you, but bowling and playing an NFL football game are completely different.
And trust me, and you know what's funny? The people that say that, they can't even breathe with broken ribs. It's hard to do. It's what Kenny Pickett did was just sensational yesterday. And look, I tried to tell people all week, the players believe in Kenny Pickett. I don't care what you think about Kenny Pickett. I care what the players think. And which, by the way, fans don't listen to, even though they treat him like gods anyway. So, look, A.J. Brown said it. He was adamant about it last week. Devontae Smith was adamant about it last week. Saquon, a lot of people were. And, you know, I asked A.J. Brown straight up, do you think Kenny Pickett had something to prove? And he pretty much said, look, I'll let everybody else decide that, but yeah, he proved something.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was a good game.
He had him at 27-7, really. Well, they kicked the field goal after he got hurt. So,
guys, is it the last name, John? You keep asking. You can't figure out why fans don't gravitate to this backup. He's from the area and all these.
Yeah, he grew up in Eagles.
It's the last name. It's just a quarterback, Pickett. I don't know. It's just not the right name. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of anything.
It is the weirdest thing.
He's a hometown kid.
Yeah.
You know what, though? I'll say this. Eagles fans aren't as bad as Steelers fans when it comes to Kenny Pickett. I got a lot of hate from Steelers.
Well, he had bigger expectations in Pittsburgh.
That's not his fault.
No, but I mean, when you're a first-round pick and all that.
And he did go to the University of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a lot of football fans.
Maybe they don't like him because he originally committed to Temple. So, you know, maybe he turned on the city. I don't know.
Jeff, what do you think of Tanner McKee?
Zach Ertz turned on the city.
Yeah, how about Zach Ertz? How about that catch by Zach Ertz?
I don't know why we got rid of him. I still, to this day, I get pissed off every time I see him catch a ball. I'm like, we need a tight end too desperately, and that guy's still producing.
I had a fun tweet about that catch last night, John. I said Zach Ertz caught a 4-for-1 in the Super Bowl, and he caught a game-winning touchdown catches. That was cake for him.
Yeah, I you know, they were who was doing the game last night? I never pay attention to announcers.
Tirico and Collinsworth.
Yeah, Sunday night. But they were debating back and forth. Oh, they're going to look at it. Did he catch it? Did he catch? I'm
Of
like,
course he
Zach,
caught it.
Zach caught it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt that Zach caught it, and that was the quickest, affirmation in league history. So Washington into the playoffs. It's looking more likely Green Bay. We'll get to that, but Saquon first. Look, they tipped their hand by what they did yesterday. They got to 2,000, immediately removed Saquon Barkley. He's not playing next week. Am I right or wrong, Jeff Kerr?
Yeah, they did tip their hand. And look, I kind of knew throughout the week 2000 was what they wanted, what he wanted, what they wanted. They kept that in house, but 2000 was the number. And again, in 16 games was the number.
Yeah. And
But
Lane said that.
yeah,
And
Lane admitted it, and
Yeah.
Saquon won't publicly admit it, but that was it.
Yeah.
To me, though, John, you're 101 yards away from a 40-year-old record that everybody knows. It's like, who's the all-time home run king? Who's the NFL single-season rushing leader? That's what that is. Who has the most points per game in a season in basketball? You know the answers to that. You don't have to look it up. Look, he's close, and you're playing the stinking job. If we're up to Slay, he'd do it. If it were up to Jordan, he'd do it. If it were up to AJ, he'd do it. If it were up to Devontae, he'd do it. If it were up to Tanner McKee, Kenny Pickett, he'd do it. But I'm not disagreeing with Lane either.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Jeff. I see both sides of it. I'd like to see him go and do it. I think you can't legislate injuries, but I don't know. John's right.
Sometimes you got to play the bad guy. And I think Nick was setting it up. Look, if Minnesota lost, they might play him. They might roll him out there and say, all right, let's give it a quarter. Let's see where we are.
Well, we'd still be having this debate, too, because Detroit would have to win tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't have to do that now.
Yeah. But I kind of defaulted because San Francisco shut it down, much like Dallas. So I think Detroit's going to roll over San Francisco. But you're right. We'd still be having that debate. And he mentioned we're going to watch some football. But once Minnesota won, it's out the window. They can't they can't move from the number 2 seed. So nothing to play for. Zander brought up Jalen Hurts as well. He's worried about the Russ situation. I wouldn't even take Jalen Hurts to the game if that's possible. I don't want him near the new. What good can happen after last year, Jeff Kerr? AJ Brown got hurt. Reed Blankenship got hurt.
And I think that's what they're going to take into consideration.
See, Sidney Brown got hurt, who was a big
Yeah,
part
but
of the
where was
defense.
that game? Wasn't that game at MetLife?
That was
Yes.
at MetLife, yeah.
Yes.
It was a disaster.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, you're out of the playoffs the next week. Now, I think a lot of people look at that and say, well, they weren't playing well, the collapse, blah, blah, blah.
But that was the reason why those guys played, because they were trying to get some momentum.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't play people in this situation. And if you do, you're a dummy. And I don't think the Eagles are a dumb organization. That's how I look at it.
I mean, I don't either, but, and I know Saquon don't care either way, but I think as a football player, as someone who does respect the game as much as he does, there's definitely a part of him.
Plus, he also wants to stick it to the Giants. Which
trust me, he does, and
which I get. I get that. But can you imagine, Jeff, if he sprains his ankle? I'm not even talking about a serious injury, high ankle sprain.
Well, think about this too, John. I know people on the Giants a lot of people on that Giants team don't hate him, but imagine if he takes a cheap shot like Kenny Pickett did yesterday.
We got that too. Anything can happen in a football game. And that's, you can't control it. That's why you're trying to control what you can control. And, the odds are what he doesn't do much in practice. If he's not playing in the Giants, he'll be out there in the playoffs. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, this is the side, too, I always look at. And look, I don't think the Eagles are going to play him personally, but And how many chances you're going to get in life at this?
Probably never again, Jeff. This is
A 2,000-yard running back has never ran for 2,000 again.
Yeah, this is the only chance.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Chris Johnson. I saw Chris Johnson welcome him into the 2K club.
Terrell
I
Davis
saw Terrell
did too.
Davis.
Barry did.
Yeah. So, 9 players are in history have done it. That's good enough. That's good.
Also, can we get off the whole Eric Dickerson hates Saquon narrative? He doesn't hate Saquon. Saquon put that to bed yesterday too. First of all, Dickerson's comments weren't even bad.
No.
I don't want anyone to break my record anyway. And Saquon would be the same way.
Yeah, they were honest. I kind of like Dickerson's comment. I
saw him on the Sunday night broadcast too. He was like, "Of course, I don't want him to break him. Why would I?" And then he said, "But good luck to him," and all that kind of stuff. He handled it the right way. And Saquon yesterday, if he has a record, he doesn't want people to break his record.
He does have a record. He has most touchdowns for any player in Penn State history, and
and he's already got franchise records for the Eagles. He mentioned, and if somebody down the road comes down and beats that record, of course he wouldn't like it. But I don't think anybody would. But your point to I don't know, like I could tell you for years, baseball 714, 755. I can't tell you what the record is now.
762.
Yeah.
But again, there's controversy in that one.
Yeah. So
and also the controversy for Barkley passing Dickerson, that's bullshit too.
Absolute I agree, but you're going to have that. So Lane's comment was,
okay, you're going to have that. Then let's play this. You want to be historian of the game to Jeff Kerr? Well, Jim Brown beat Steve Van Buren's record in more games. O.J. Simpson beat Jim Brown's record in more games. It is the Rusty
I said that.
Nobody
record. Talks about it.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about it.
Yeah. You know why? Because people are stupid. That's why
I agree with that. Lane said it best, as he usually does. They should just let Lane run the team. Eric Dickerson is who he is. Saquon is who he is. We just wanted to get to 2,000. We were fine with that. Better be safe than sorry. There it is.
Yeah, and look, 2,000 was always the number. That is the special number. You probably can name. I know I can. I can name anybody that's ran for 2,000 yards in an NFL season. It's a special mark, and it's always going to be one. It's I can't name all the 5,000-yard passers, John.
No. Yeah. It is a special mark. Is it the baseball home run record? No. So I'm like tightroping that. Yeah, it is, but is it, and maybe that's the history of baseball, the lore of baseball. Is it that kind of in the public zeitgeist? I don't think it is, to be honest. I don't think people talk about Eric Dickerson very much until this year. Until somebody's on the cusp of breaking it.
They've talked about it. I mean,
I don't. But that's what I'm saying. Babe Ruth, legendary. Hank Aaron, legendary.
We also forget this too, John. I know you covered Pearson's 2,000 yard season. He wasn't close to Dickerson going into that last week. He made himself close.
Yeah. Anytime you get to 2,000, it's an impressive feat. But I, just kind of like, I'm in Team Lane, man. I'm like, awesome. Now let's go accomplish the real thing.
Yeah, it's Saquon wants to win a Super Bowl. His words are genuine on that. I mean, I know.
But I do think there's this nature of like it's this record that everybody talks about. Nobody talks about it until somebody's on the cusp of breaking it. I don't think that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's that type of record where everybody knows it. In fact, I would say the majority of football fans, today's football fans, not historians like myself and you, Jeff, don't even freaking know who Eric Dickerson is. the vast majority of them.
Which is crazy because everybody should know who he is. Just not.
I agree with that.
Not even based on his what he did in college.
I agree with that. He's one of the greatest running backs of all time. The Pony Express from SMU we talk about. Yeah, all of us know that. But I'm saying he is not a part of American culture with that record.
You know how crazy it is, though? Like, it's been 40 years since anybody's touched that record. The baseball single-season home run record was broken in a shorter amount of time.
Well, we know why, but...
Yeah, we know why, but still, it's...
Didn't Adrian Peterson get close, though? He was like 8 yards away, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he wasn't in striking distance going into the last week like Saquon was. He needed basically what he did and a little bit more that last week of the season. And to Adrian Peterson's credit,
yeah, and
he got close.
Again, I think he was like 10 yards or 8 yards away.
And again, as I pointed out, mediocre team, less than mediocre team, to be honest. And it's a bigger deal in that instance. I've said pretty consistently, if the Eagles are a 9-8 team, go for it. Go for it.
But they're not. They're 13-3.
Exactly.
And they're locked in the 2 seed.
Yeah. Completely different scenario.
Yeah. I mean, look, as someone, and again, I'll show my bias here. I want him to do it.
Well, yeah, you're a big Penn State guy, and Saquon. Look,
there's a lot of people at Penn State that they secretly hope he does it. You know, just for I know a certain coach there that really wants him to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, coming up to the playoffs now, Eagles are locked in at the number 2 seed. Who's the better round 1 matchup in your opinion, or who would you rather play? Commanders, Packers. I said to John, boy, right now it's the Packers. That's not a good draw for a first-round matchup.
I mean, the NFC's loaded, to be honest with you. Yeah, we got 11-win teams. They're going to be at least 11-win team is going to be a 7 seed. So, you know, but I'll look at it this way. I was asked this on WIP last night. I want the Commanders. I do. I even though they won last night, was not impressed. They let Michael Penix go right down the field, a rookie quarterback, just go right down the field on him and tie that game. And I do believe and this is credit to Jaden Daniels. Falcons get the ball in overtime. I think they win.
Yeah, maybe. I think both teams were sort of out of gas defensively. So perhaps, but I just think Green Bay's more talented. So that's why I'd rather face Washington.
Right.
You and I were talking before the Eagles game. I do think Washington's better coached, and that will surprise a lot of people. I think they play a smarter brand of football. I think Green Bay's dumb.
They are.
They don't play until there's 6 minutes left in the game and use all these weapons.
The Packers are the most overrated team in football.
I don't think they are from a talent standpoint. I think they are from a
results standpoint. They are.
Yeah.
They don't beat anybody that's any good.
Well, aren't there 5 losses, Jeff? 2 to the Lions, 2 to the Vikings, 1 to the Eagles. That's their 5, isn't it?
Yeah, and everybody goes, "Well, they're only by 22 points." I said, "I don't care. They lost. If they win 2 of those games,
but then if you peel back the onion, they're always behind by 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns.
They were down 27-10 yesterday. The Vikings were kicking their you-know-whats.
Yeah. Until, and I told you this before the game, they start passing the ball and taking advantage of their cornerbacks. They did the same thing in the first game. Why don't you do it from the kickoff?
Yeah, well, why do you even try to say because Josh Jacobs is on your team?
Jordan Love had like 64 yards passing in like halfway through the third quarter in that game, maybe even longer. I was on the post.
I didn't like the criticism toward Love after that game too. Oh, he looked like a deer in the headlights, wasn't ready for the moment. I'm like, no, that's not it. It was the game.
Yeah, I think they're a dumb team, but boy, they're gifted. They're talented. So from that standpoint, and you saw the same thing in the first week of the playoffs last year against Dallas. They just went in there. Dallas at the time, people laugh at them today in their current incarnation, but Dallas at the time was undefeated at home, had been scoring 40 points a game at home.
They were really good last year.
And they got destroyed by the Packers because it was one of their A games and they played at their potential level. That's the concern. But bottom line is, as you mentioned with the NFC side of the bracket, Jeff, you're going to have to beat good teams. I mean, you can't hide from a good team. And to me, Washington is much better matchup from a talent standpoint. They're not quite there yet from a talent standpoint, but they have a great rookie quarterback who can pull what out of his butt at time and make plays and do this. So everybody's dangerous, but I would much rather have Washington. Much.
And look, it's not like the Eagles need to be motivated to play a playoff game, but I'm pretty sure there could be a little extra juice in there for what happened last week.
Absolutely. And a divisional opponent too. I mean, I think it's a whole different feeling of a game if you play Washington versus if you play Green Bay.
But my favorite aspect of this whole NFC playoff field is the worst team is going to be the 4 seed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is going to be who? The Bucs?
If the Bucs win, yes.
Yeah.
If the Bucs lose and the Falcons win, the Bucs should not lose next week.
No, they're playing New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
The Falcons should not lose either. They're playing Carolina.
Yeah, so I'll probably be chalk.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the worst team. And the Bucs are a good team. It's not like they're a bad team. But who really gets screwed is the loser of Minnesota, Detroit. Because they're going to win 14 games probably and be the 5th seed.
They will have, no matter what, they will have the most wins for a wild card team in NFL history.
Yeah.
You think that's going to affect one of those teams in the playoffs? I mean, think about the hype. Like, all the eyes on that game. Week 18, you're preparing. It's almost a playoff-like feeling. If you're the loser of that game,
I think the loser of that game
bounce back and go right into a playoff atmosphere.
On the road.
I'd rather be the Eagles right now, knowing I'm the number 2 seed with a couple weeks to prep for that moment, than being the Lions or the Vikings going into a game that feels like a playoff game.
Also,
and if you lose that game,
I would not want to face the Bucs in the first. There is something I like about that Bucs team. I can't figure it out. But man, they just know how to get the most out of what they have. They did it last year. They're doing it again this year. They're going to be like a 9-7, 10-7 football team, and they are going to smell blood for the loser that week 18. They're going to want that game.
Yeah, I think whoever loses that game is really susceptible for the first round upset, which will be on the road, which is not fair. Do you think the NFL would ever change that?
No, because I think they got to reward division winners somehow, some way.
Yeah, but if the division sucks, that's brutal.
It's not that. It is what it is. You know,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings are so clearly better than, the other couple of division winners, but that's all right. I mean, I think you're probably right.
I mean, it is what it is. The Eagles hosted the playoff game in 19 and the NFC East wasn't good.
Yeah, it's been going for years. We've had teams under 500. And let's be honest, if you're Detroit or Minnesota, you should beat whoever is there anyway. So,
yeah, you won 14 games. You're a 14-2 football team. You should be able to beat pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
I think the only acceptable loss for them would probably be to the Eagles.
Yeah. Who's more difficult in your mind? 1-2, Minnesota or Detroit?
Even with all the injuries, I'd still say Detroit.
Yeah, so do I. But man, that Minnesota team offensively, man.
I again, and you and I have talked about this, John. Sam Darnold's having a great year.
Oh my God!
But again, do you trust him? Like, to
oh
win
my
a
God! But
game?
I'm at the point where I look at everybody else and go, "What are you watching?" Like, you're not watching Sam Darnold with the New York Jets. You're watching Sam Darnold with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. How good is freaking Jordan Addison?
He's good. The Vikings has done a sneaky good job at drafting players.
TJ Connell's got to be coach of the year, right?
I think he is. I would pick him.
Yeah. I mean, you have
TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah. Oh, they got better when he got back, and we knew that. Their offensive line's solid. Flores has done a great job at that team. I know they've been faltering over the last couple. He's still done a great job. It's Vikings. I've been taking the Vikings seriously all year, but now that we're getting to this,
well, it all comes down to nobody believes in Sam Darnold, and I think he might be the best quarterback in the NFC. And nobody believes in him.
What is he, third in the league in touchdown passes now?
I don't know, but he's got some kind of record for 100 passer rating games. I don't.
I think
the consistency every single week, the accuracy.
By the way, John, this is one of those random stats, and no one took it seriously in '99. They'll take it seriously. They're probably taking it a little more seriously now because of how good the Vikings are. Sam Darnold has the most touchdown passes ever for a player on his fourth team.
Yeah, well, it never happened, so I think nobody believes it.
Yeah, Steve Berline did it, but Berline was old in '99, and Carolina was.
But I think people forgot, like, he was the third pick in the draft, and not by mistake, because he had a better arm than everybody else. He's athletic. But you get in a crappy situation, and, everybody needs us. That's why when people criticize Jalen Hurts for his supporting cast, how stupid is that? You can't play without a supporting cast.
I hate people like that. By the way, John, the post of the day yesterday on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, was my one buddy who's a Panthers beat writer. It was not Mike K, but he posted a picture of Mayfield and Darnold in their Panthers uniforms and said, caption this.
Yeah, well, that's another. I mean, you think about a couple weeks ago, Minnesota was playing Seattle, and everybody had those Sam Darnold, Geno Smith memes because of the Jets' issues at quarterback over the years.
The Jets are the worst. I'm sorry. Them and the Giants. What a bunch of dumb franchises.
Yeah. Oh, New York football.
Now you got Sauce Gardner telling T. Higgins not to go there.
Boy, T. Higgins, yeah. How about Cincinnati? How good is Joe Burrow?
Slay told me yesterday, they make the playoffs, Joe's your MVP. Period. And he said, I'm teammates with Saquon.
Yeah, it's still the AFC quarterbacks, and you think about Mahomes, Allen, Joe Burrow. They're better, but the NFC has better teams. That's how I look at it.
I did in my weekly overreactions piece, I decided to do a fun one. And none of these teams play. It's supposed to be the Sunday afternoon games, but I had to bring it up. You're the Chiefs. You do whatever in your power to keep the Bengals out, meaning not play anybody.
Yes.
Yeah, and I have people tell me that's cowardly. I've said, no, it's not. You earned that right.
I go back to 2018, where all Chicago had to do to avoid the Eagles in the first round. That was the double doink game.
They had to lose, right?
All they had to do was not play anybody in a meaningless game against Minnesota at the time, who was not in the playoffs, who at that time was a bad team, and they didn't do it. And they won the game.
And the Eagles got in.
And the Eagles got in because they won the game, and then the Eagles went and upset them. Remember, the Eagles were coming off the Super Bowl. That was the year after the Super Bowl.
They were 5-7 that year, too.
Yeah. And so they were a battle-tested team. And people would say that same thing about Chicago. Chicago was really good that year. That was the year they were good with Matt Nagy, and they were like 13-3 or something of that nature.
And all them, yeah.
Yeah, the one good year Mitch Trubisky had, and they won 13 games, I think. And everybody was saying that about Chicago. Oh, you can't be scared. You can't. All right, you can't be scared. Is it better to be dumb? Because if they lost to Minnesota, they would have had Minnesota again in the playoffs,
and they probably would have beat.
And they would have beat the brakes off them. At that time, they were just a styles make bites type of thing. They were a big physical team. Minnesota was, undersized. Blah blah blah. They would have beat the brakes off. But they said, "Nah, we'll go beat the crap out of them." And Eagles came in and beat them. It was a close game.
Yeah, I hate that. Oh, you could be scared. You know what? This is how I look at it. If you're the Bengals, you want to cry. Why don't you cry about being 0-3 at one point, and you had to put yourself in this situation?
Well, I never feel bad for teams that need bad teams to be. Yeah, you put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. And by the way, Zach Taylor is a horrible, horrible football coach. I hope he gets fired no matter what happens.
I hope. Come on, I don't hope anybody gets fired. There's a lot of worse. Well, I'm not a big Zach Taylor guy. But.
Yeah, me neither, Jeff. Jeff, I'm with you.
Ben Johnson is salivating at that opportunity. Salivating.
Whoever gets Ben Johnson's going to be wildly disappointed. That's my prediction.
Yeah, because the expectations are through the roof.
Yeah. I don't know, man. The only thing with the Bengals is you can't trust their front office to keep all those weapons around.
No, you can't trust them to do anything. They're notoriously cheap.
Well, that's what I mean. So if you're Ben Johnson and you go there and it looks all great with Jamar and T. Higgins, but ultimately those dudes are gone, I mean, you're looking at a different offense.
T. Higgins is getting paid.
In Cincinnati.
By the way, it just popped up from this is the stat I was talking about. Sam Darnold has 13 games this season with a 100 or more passer rating,
insane.
Tying him with Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes for the second most in NFL history. Rodgers number 1 with 14. Only 5 guys have done that.
But it's a 17-game season now, John.
Well, that's in 16. That's in 16.
I know, but it's still funny when people.
Well, no, that's meaningless. Don't get me wrong.
And you know what Lane said to me after all you guys? No, you were with me yesterday when that happened. Yeah. When Lane goes, well, it's going to be an 18-game season soon anyway.
Yeah. Oh, Lane doesn't care. Yeah. I mean, it's not about 16, 17 games. I was just talking about at some point you got to admit Sam Darnold's pretty freaking good. And by the way, JJ McCarthy can go fuck himself.
Yeah. So where's JJ McCarthy going? That's the all-season.
New York Giants. That's who the Giants, because the Giants stink. The quarterback class stinks this year, I think. And they're going to be stuck with another.
My good friend of mine who's covered the Giants for a long time loved what I told him. I said, even when you guys need to lose, you don't even know how to do that right. He goes, man, I'm borrowing that quote.
Yeah, that's awesome. They can't even get a bad quarterback because Cam Ward, Sanders, whatever. Good luck.
None of them impressed me this year. I'm not going to lie.
No, you're right, John. They're better off just giving up draft capital for JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I don't even know if Minnesota wants to do it. I think Minnesota wants to keep JJ McCarthy and move on from Sam Darnold. So they just should sign Sam Darnold.
Giants fans aren't too happy with me because I keep putting out Saquon Barkley. Yeah, do you hear this, John? The Giants are better off with Tyrone Tracy.
Look, I'm 100% on board with it. Was a great signing for the Eagles, and the Giants made the right decision. I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive.
They don't, but
Saquon, if Saquon's on the Giants, we've seen that movie 6 times. They're a little bit better. He's got 1,200 yards.
Can't escape the optics, though, John.
They're not.
I think it's what they chose to do, which was pay Daniel Jones. Say we're better off. They did get Daniel Jones.
The optics,
a great receiver, by the way. Malik Neighbors is a stud. But
he's better than Marvin Harrison too.
But Daniel Jones was gone in 11 weeks, so
I'm with you, Zander, when you say the optics are bad. But if I'm running a football team, and John Marison an abject disaster, so I'm not.
So is his front office,
and he has been since. They moved on from Tom Coughlin, to be honest. That's how bad they've just been one of the worst organizations in the NFL. If you're a good owner, and there are very few good owners, and we've seen a lot of bad ones, and the Eagles have been really the generosity of the NFC with Daniel Snyder and John Mara and Jerry Jones compared to Jeffrey Lurie. It's just unbelievable the difference between that group. if you're running a good franchise, you don't care about optics. But if you're running a good franchise, you don't dip to the depths of the New York Giants. So it's kind of a catch-22. But I don't give a shit about optics.
I do think it's funny. Josh Harris has 11 wins as in a season in his second year with the Commanders. Daniel Snyder could never do that.
Well, Daniel Snyder's the worst owner maybe in the history of major American professional sports.
Donald Sterling exists.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's very few people in that conversation. Donald Sterling would be in that conversation. Daniel Snyder's in that conversation.
I think Norman Raymond is in that conversation too, John.
I don't think he's that bad. You got to go really low. Norman Raymond was terrible, but you got to go really. You got to go to the basement and then start digging to get to Daniel Snyder territory.
He's bad.
But I mean, the advantage the Eagles have in ownership in this particular division is huge. And I know that's not front page stuff for most fans, but it's the Eagles' success starts with Jeffrey Lurie.
Jerry Jones wanted to keep Mike McCarthy going into yesterday, and I was all for it.
I have no problem with Mike McCarthy. I don't think he's a great coach. I don't think he's a bad coach. The problem is not Mike McCarthy.
No.
I agree, John.
The problem is Jerry Jones.
Yeah. And you know, Jerry's a good businessman. He's not a good football owner.
No, he's not. Jeff, one more thing I want to ask you about the game yesterday. Eagles destroyed the Cowboys, man. They beat them 75-13 this year across 2 games. Just insane what they did to them. I mean, I know Cowboys weren't full strength in either of those. I understand that, but it's still good. It's still good.
Yeah, but win to win in the NFL, Zander, they're not going to apologize for it.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think of Tanner McKay, Jeff? He's one of the guys who's highly talked about here. After
the Mormon Missile.
The backup quarterback is the most popular athlete in Philadelphia, even when it's Kenny Pickett's backup
quarterback, though, Jeff.
Now, they didn't like Kenny Pickett.
Do you guys think that Tanner McKee can be a starter in the NFL at any point?
I think he can be a QB too. You know, it's funny. Like,
I didn't say QB2. I said starter.
No,
but
Zander. So this is really funny, right? And look,
and by the way, when I say no, I mean right now. You know, you can develop and you can get better, but no, not right now.
So here's a funny Pickett story. And look, I defended Pickett all week based on what players have told me. I defended Pickett most of this year, but it was funny when the Eagles traded for Pickett. I did make the joke, like, "What are they doing this?" Like, I know why they're doing it. But I'm like, damn, McKee may be better than him.
A lot of people think that. I don't know why.
I don't think he's better than him, but I think it was fair to have that conversation in April.
Boy, not for this organization. Like I thought, and I don't even blame fans for this. I'm not going to pick on, like media people buy into that who know this organization, and I'm not saying because the people that know this organization don't buy into that. They traded for Kenny Pickett for a freaking reason, to be the backup quarterback. They value backup quarterback more than any other team in the NFL. They like Kenny Pickett coming out. They gave up a 3rd-round pick, even though it was, you know, draft manipulation. They got 2 years of his first rookie contract.
Yeah, you got him for next year.
This was a calculated plan to have a cost-effective backup that can go in and win a game or 2 for you.
And to Kenny Pickett's credit, he did it.
And he did it on top of it. And there were all these people saying, "Oh, Tanner McKee might be." I mean, do you even know this organization?
I'm not trying to take away from Pickett when I ask it. I think McKee he's a good-looking prospect. I think
there were enough.
He's got the big arm. You know, he looks like that prototypical.
Kenny Pickett's got a stronger arm than Tanner McKee.
There were enough players in that organization.
You think so, John?
That told me last week.
I know so. I see it in practice. We were talking about it.
Yeah, you would know. I'm genuinely.
We were. John and I talk about it.
We were talking about it in practice last week.
It doesn't. I will say it doesn't look like that. Like it looked like McKee had had a stronger
It's
arm. But
it's
I
an
don't. You see more of it than me.
optical 6'6" illusion.
It might
You know,
be.
because when you see 6'6" guys, you normally have these strong arm. That's not Tanner McKee. That's why he's a 6th-round pick.
He's a smart cookie, though.
Yeah, he's very smart. He does not have the typical arm strength of a 6'6" guy.
Look,
He's
if you
smart,
have
Jeff. I
if
like
you have
that
any
about him.
doubts on Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee, where who should be the QB2 or not, look at that Kenny Pickett throw to AJ Brown that was called back, and AJ said that was a dot. That was an absolute dot, and I wish it would have counted.
You talking about the one-handed catch? That was
No. The touchdown throw where Pickett got knocked out of the game. The touchdown throw.
Oh yeah,
that
was an unbelievable.
AJ told me that was an absolute dot. He said,
that was
You
an
did see
unbelievable.
some real arm strength on that throw. He zipped that ball in there.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable throw. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you watch him at practice, he's just got much more zip. And I'm talking about functional football passes. I'm not talking about, who threw it 65. Oh, Bo Nix. I don't know if you saw the Bo Nix.
Oh, the Bo Nix throw was, man,
yeah,
that was incredible. So the one to Marvin Mims,
67 yards in the air, which I always laugh about. People say, because how many times are you going to throw a ball in an NFL game 67 yards in the air? Well, Bo Nix did it.
Jaden Daniels had a pass like that this year.
Yeah, and there's certain guys who can do it. Brett Favre, but as far as functional football throws, like Brett Favre's got the strongest arm I've ever seen.
Even in his 40s, he has strong arm.
Yeah. Kenny can
sling them. That pass to Devonta Smith was pretty. The touchdown pass.
Yeah. Well, he's not top tier arm strength, but he can rip it.
It's definitely
but there's
good
a reason
enough.
why he got picked in the first round, even in a bad QB class.
Yeah, it's definitely good enough. Yeah. Jeff, one more question for you before you go, man. Do you have any concern, like I do, with Jalen having 3 straight weeks off going into a playoff game?
No, because they're calculating the weeks off, to be honest, Zander. It's like, don't have to play him next week. I mean, really, was it surprising to you guys if Kenny Pickett gets the week off?
No, I expect him to get the week off.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he can play. He's got broken ribs.
Yeah, I mean, he had broken ribs all last week, and somehow pulled it off.
This is week 3 preseason vibe. Tanner McKee and Ian Book. You might even get some Ian Book.
I'm still laughing at Steelers fans when I said, Kenny Pickett played the whole game and broken ribs. They're like, well, you didn't play the whole game. I'm like, yeah, he did, because the Eagles were up so much. And I actually said this to somebody. The Eagles were up so much in that game that he didn't have to come back in. But the Steelers wouldn't know that, especially against good teams. They don't know what's like 20 points.
Yeah, the Steelers.
Any Steelers fan that comes into my mentions, I said, unless you tell me who Hydroplane is, you don't get to talk to me about the Pittsburgh Steelers at all.
Shep is he's upsetting Steelers fans, Cowboy fans.
Steelers fans don't even bug me. I like the Steelers. I like that organization, but their fans are the most spoiled, rotten, dumbest fans.
See, I think the Green Bay fans are the most spoiled. I've said it.
Oh, they're spoiled too.
Yeah.
Cowboys fans are dumb because apparently touchdowns don't count unless you're Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith is the most one.
Where are let's get in your truck. Where are Eagles fans, Jeff?
They're up there too, but they're all up there. But again, I just think it's funny that Cowboys fans don't count Jalen Hurts' rushing touchdowns because they're a yard out, but yet their running back, who I can sit here and argue to death, he's the greatest of all time, or one of the greatest, has the most 1-yard rushing touchdowns in NFL history. And you don't hear a word about it.
Well, yeah. The people who don't like Jalen Hurts' 1-yard touchdowns, like, who cares?
Do we not like Kenny Pickett's 1-yard touchdown?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like the way Nick handled that situation. I will say that. Nobody
I flipped out
about it.
I flipped down the CBS Slack room yesterday because someone said, someone who, I don't think he knows that much about football. So, well, they would give Saquon Barkley the ball at the 1 yard line. He'd be an MVP.
I see both sides of this.
No, but Zander, this is where I'm getting this at. I'm going to tell people this as someone who probably remembers almost all of Saquon Barkley's touchdowns at Penn State. Saquon always sucked inside the 5.
Yeah, he's not a short yardage runner.
Trace McSorley got the touchdowns.
Yeah.
So this is something
that's good. You brought up Emmitt Smith was maybe the best short yardage runner ever. Barry Sanders was not.
Yeah.
There's styles.
Marcus Allen was really good inside the 1 too.
Yeah. There's styles, and they do the right thing, the Eagles.
Yeah. John, I actually criticized your boy one time when the Eagles played them in the playoff game, Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Adrian, there was like, oh, you got 2 touchdowns. You got 2 touchdowns. I'm like, yes. He also had 25 carries for 80 yards, and one of them was a 40-yard run. He scored twice inside the 1. It's a good game, but touchdowns are touchdowns. You still have to earn them, but I think any Vikings fan would tell you Adrian Peterson didn't have an Adrian Peterson type game.
Yeah. No, well, Adrian, I've always, and I got to cover Adrian up close. Adrian's one of the greatest runners of all time. I used to say, and he's not a great running back. He was a bad pass protector. He was a bad pass catcher. Boy, I used to get it from Vikings fans. He's a great runner, but not a great running back.
He's a top 10 runner of all time, though.
Best runner since Jim Brown, I say.
Yeah. And he was like that all throughout college, too. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
Where would you put Dickerson on that? Because
Dickerson's top 5. He's top 5. Walter Payton, Dickerson, AP. Saquon's got to be in the conversation now. I don't go that high. I think the best this will piss Eagles fans off. You brought him up. Best running back. Listen, people. Running back. That means runner, pass catcher, pass protection. Emmitt Smith.
Yeah, I would agree. That's why I love him. Look, I can't stand the Cowboys. I love Emmitt Smith. Always did. He's a great football player.
Yeah.
Saquon likes Emmitt Smith. He respects history. By the way, the greatest football player in Eagles history is still Steve Van Buren.
That's probably true. That's
probably. What was he, Jeff? 40s or 50s?
40s. Yep. He's
49, 50.
He scored the winning touchdown in the 48 championship game, ran for 195 yards in the 49 championship game, NFL's all-time leading rusher. He held every single running back record when he retired. Every single one. Jim Brown had to pass every single one, and it took him multiple years to do it. Just
pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Jeff, we got to run, man. We got the great Chris Franklin waiting in the green room. Thank you for joining in today, Jeff. We appreciate it, brother. We'll talk to you next week after a snooze fest game, Eagles-Giants. All right, brother?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Good stuff there from Jeff Kerr joining us on Birds 365. We appreciate him joining the show. As I mentioned, we got the great Chris Franklin coming up next here on Birds 365. Before I get to our break, I do want to tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. Check them out. You can see the promo code I put on your screen. It's YouTube150. Gives you 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. You get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. We'll be back in 3 minutes, everybody, with Chris Franklin on Birds 365.